Shalom, shalom. It's the brother Yahweh Shapat coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Alahaya Nawa Bahashem, Hamashiach Yahweh Shah. Double honors to my apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well in these scriptures. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom to you brothers and you very few sisters who are listening and learning. And today, man, I want to speak on how, the Lord's heritage is, as a speckled bird, man, you're going to have Israelites that look like, every other nation out there, and even within the tribes, all of us come in different shades of brown, you know. This is Jeremiah chapter 12 and verse 8. Mine heritage is unto me as a lion in the forest. Salakia, I wanted verse 9. Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. The Lord's heritage is as a speckled bird, because he scattered us amongst all nations. So, that's one of the key parts of this gospel, is understanding and knowing that those natural physical attributes that some of us have as Israelites, not every Israelite is going to have that, and you're going to have Israelites that look like so-called white people, so-called Chinese people, and down to the letter, all the other nations, man. I work, I ain't gonna say where I work, but, I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Man, it's, I bump into confusion of face Burmese, confusion of face Edomites, confusion of face Malaysians, etc., man. And it amazes me every day. You know what I'm saying? Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah really did scatter his people among our nations. And if you got the spirit of discernment to see, hey man, when you meet one of those confusion of face brothers or sisters, you can just tell, man. It's a certain spirit that we as Israelites have, and it don't matter what what you look like. If you were scattered amongst these other nations, it don't matter what you look like. You're gonna retain the spirit of an Israelite if you're an Israelite. So it's just certain things that you're gonna do, is certain ways you're gonna carry yourself. Hey man, you bump into one of the brothers, we can tell. Let's see. This is James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Shah Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Hey, this was this letter was wrote and prescribed to the Israelite foreigners, and to the tribes. But this was like around the time where the Apostle Paul was on the scene. He was actually, gathering certain confusion of faith brothers and actually, bringing them into the faith through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. That being said, you have those of us who, like I said, man, we retain those natural Israelite those physical features. You know what I'm saying? The skin color, etc., etc. And then you got Israelites that, hey man, they done been scattered their bloodline has been scattered amongst these particular nations so long, they no longer hold the attributes, the physical attributes of an Israelite, but you can just tell, and some of them actually do keep certain features, And even amongst these other countries that they're in, they get treated different, and they actually, um, they get spotted. It's like they can't hide them. With Salaki, they can't hide themselves. When you deal with, hey, some of them get treated, differently. You know, like in particular over there in Vietnam. I want to say it was Vietnam. You had a certain group of them or family of them that was separated and kind of ousted from the other Vietnamese people. Because during the Vietnam War, Jake was over there dropping their seed off. And that's one thing you women got to understand too. Um, when you lay down with the man of another nation, you Israelite women, you're bringing this man's seed forth, whether he be an Edomite, uh, a Ishmaelite, a Hamite, don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You're bringing forth his seed. Now, when an Israelite man deals with another woman from another nation, that seed remains ours. We're giving seed unto her. You know what I'm saying? So regardless of down the line, years, decades, centuries later, it don't matter how our offspring looks. You determine the pedigree through the father, you know. And hey, for you to be a confusion of face Israelite, the way down your line, you come from an Israelite man, you know. A lot of these people that I bump into, these confusion of face brothers and sisters, I ask them, well, who's your father? Well, do you know what your father is or whatever? I try to get an idea, you know what I'm saying, of what I'm dealing with. Most of the time, man, the father, he's just like them. You can tell he's an Israelite. You can tell he done been scattered amongst these other nations. With like I said, whatever nation they might be from. You know, Fort Wayne got a heavy Burmese population, and a lot of them are Jakes. They keep them, on the same side of town as Jake, on the south side of town. You know, man, they got their own little gang banging shit going on. They got their own nigga 2/3 shit going on, you know, and you can just tell they Jake, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't really. Some of them they branch off and they fuck with Judah, or Salaki. They'll fool around with Judah. The women. They end up getting them a Judite man, or some of them they stick to the people that they know. But man, a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of them from Thailand, a lot of them from Burma. They parents are. A lot of them are Israelites, man, and you just can tell they fit in with us too well. And like I said, it's a spiritual thing. Call Loyam like how about Shmi Shad. The Lord blessed me with a spirit of discernment. You know what I'm saying? So I can literally just look at you and tell, after I watch you for a certain amount of time, I can tell if you're an Israelite or not. Sometimes it's harder than others, but Jake gonna be Jake, man, no matter what we look like. This is Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So, that being said, according to the scriptures, when somebody asks you, what's your nationality? Not many people are even aware what their nationality is. They give you that whole spiel of, my mother's this, my grandmother's that. I don't want to hear none of that, because that don't matter. What is your father? What is his father? That's what's important when it comes to determining anybody's pedigree on earth, you know. But yeah, man, you're going to have Israelites that look like all other nations. You know what I'm saying? The Lord scattered us, man. You know? Now, the bulk of us are over here in America, a.k.a. Babylon the Great. And this is where a lot of us will be delivered from. But you do have the great multitude that's going to be joined unto the elect. And, they're Israelites as well. They're just Israelites that are scattered in these different parts of the earth, you know, um, amongst these other nations. I'm trying to think and see if I have. Oh, yeah, I got another precept. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land, Salakia, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Hey man, you heathens are going into captivity, and rightfully so. You know, we gonna beat the hell out of Esau, Edom. But these other nations are gonna catch hell too. They just ain't gonna get it as bad as Esau. But all of you are gonna be brought under a righteous subjugation. You know what I'm saying? And man, I can't wait, bro. You know, these people, the more we come into that, the more we enter into that, prince of the power mentality, you just realize even on a day-to-day basis, and when it comes to dealing with small things, we're better at running things than Esau or any of the other nations are. You know what I'm saying? And when the Lord makes us all righteous, when he's done cutting the fat, as the scriptures say, Zechariah 13 and verse 8, when the Lord has done away with the 2/3 and he's perfected the 1/3, in the hopeful elect, the 144,000, when the Lord sets up, the new governing body of Israel, you know what I'm saying? When Yahushua comes down here and establishes righteousness all throughout this earth, things are going to be running real smooth because we're going to be in charge. Things are running like shit because Esau's in charge. What you're experiencing is, a high level, left-handed satanic kingdom. And on the flip side, when Yahushua comes back, you're going to experience the exact opposite. It's going to be a righteous rulership because right now, pursuant to Job 9:24, we're not under a righteous rulership. And if you can look around you and peep what's going on, you see that and you see why. These people have to be taken out of power, but what can we do alone? We waiting on Yahushua, man. And Yahushua is waiting on Yahweh to give him the go. But, hey, even on your best day here, it's a bad day because we still in fucking captivity. Jake thankful for every little thing, every little moment. And it ain't all bad. But like I said, you have to come down from whatever high the Lord then allowed you to experience briefly back down to the reality that, man, you still in captivity. You still got to work that fucking dead-end job. You still got to pay that wicked-ass bitch child support. You still got to deal with wicked-ass family members. Wicked-ass Jake. You got to deal with them when you out and about. Man, this place is a perfect vexation of spirit, man. This kingdom, we done been in other captivities, but this is the worst one for many reasons. But, I want to get the point, man. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. I read it, but I want to go back. So, Salaki about that. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers, now who are the strangers talking about? Is it talking about the other nations? Absolutely not. It's talking about the Israelites who have been scattered amongst the other nations and who have discontinued from their heritage because of that. And they're going to be brought back. You know what I'm saying? They're the only ones that can be grafted in. And why? Because at the end of the day, they're Israelites through blood, through bloodline. So don't get it twisted. The other nations cannot make it. They will not make it. The only place they gonna make it to is into chains, man, into bondage, into subjugation. Now, that's pretty much all I had on this topic. Hey, you know, I'm gonna get this uploaded, you know what I'm saying? And Lord willing, this is edifying. As always, call Loyim La Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah Bashim Rakakwadash Dam Yah. As the scriptures say, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. Until the next one, Shalom.